بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Dear brothers and sisters, welcome to the 26th episode of the Ramadan series, The Daily Revival, presented by Serving Islam team and your brother Isa. Before I start today's episode, there's just something that came to my mind and I want to mention it before I forget, which is according to my observation, the average number of people who watch this series, these videos, is about 6 to 7. And if you are one of the people who actually watched this video, who is watching this video, I really hope that you make dua for me, that Allah Azza wa Jal accepts this work and give me reward in this world and the next. And thank you for your dua. So that's just a selfish note, but it's selfish in the sunnah way, right? We should ask each other to make dua for each other, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala likes this mutual brotherhood and sisterhood, this mutual respect and love among the believers, and also He loves when a servant of His makes dua for another, out of his iman and his good character. So yeah, make dua for me in short. Jazakallahu khairan. Now today's episode is about a term called multitasking. We hear this term a lot. Oh, someone is very good at multitasking, or I'm very busy right now. I'm so busy that I'm multitasking. So Sheikh Ali mentioned that once he's waiting for the prayer in Mecca, and he saw a man with a very serious look on his face, and he was flanked by two young men on both of his sides, who were trying to speak to him simultaneously. And he drew a bit closer and realized that they were both revising Islamic texts that they had memorized as he checked their memorization. What amazed him was that they were both reciting different texts, yet he was able to listen to both of them simultaneously and make the necessary corrections as well. He then realized that he wasn't the only one who was observing this. Actually, others were astonished as well. These things impressed us because this type of multitasking isn't normal. In fact, many contemporary neuroscientists suggest that our brain are not wired for multitasking at all. It doesn't have the hardware to support so-called multitasking. And I took a course of psychology in university, and the teacher, I remember he gave an example. He said the human attention is like a spotlight. It's strong, it's bright, but it's very focused. So when it lightens up one particular area, when you pay attention to one matter, it absolutely and necessarily loses focus and attention to the other matters. That's how the human brain is created. So he said there's no such thing as multitasking. You are actually just switching tasks and attention all the time. And that's what Sheikh Ali mentioned as well. The so-called multitasking is not healthy, nor is it efficient. It creates mental fogs and scrambled thinking, right? It actually breaks up your mental faculties if you keep switching your attention too often, as we frantically switch from one task to another, having deluded ourselves into thinking that we're multitasking. So there's no such thing as multitasking. When you're doing many things at a time, you think you're doing many things at a time, but actually you are doing one thing at a time, but you are switching at a very high rate. And that's not really the best way to do things. Interestingly, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, مَا جَعَلَ اللَّهُ لِرَجُلٍ مِّن قَلْبَيْنِ فِي جَوْفِهِ. He said Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has not made for any man two hearts within him. If one's heart is obsessed with a matter, it struggles to find space for another. This is our default. Our undivided attention actually cannot be divided, right? We use the term, use your undivided attention, but your attention, in fact, cannot be divided. Perhaps this was the reason why, when the Prophet ﷺ found himself impressed by any element of dunya, he would be quick to say, لَبَيْكَ إِنَّ الْعَيْشَ عَيْشُ الْآخِرَةِ. This is the sunnah today. He will say, oh, here I am, O Allah, answering your call. The true life is the life of the hereafter. As if to remind himself, number one, that it is Allah's call that I will answer, not the call of my urges and desires. Number two, that I haven't restrained my soul to oppress it, but to qualify it for something far better, because the life of the hereafter is far better. And number three, that dunya hasn't caused me to forget my final destination. Imam Nawawi rahmahullah, he said, إِذَا رَأَى شَيْئًا يُعْجِبُهُ قَالَ لَبَيْكَ إِنَّ الْعَيْشَ عَيْشُ الْآخِرَةِ. He said, if a person sees something that impresses him or amazes him, he should say these words according to the Sunnah. Here I am, O Allah, لَبَيْكَ إِنَّ الْعَيْشَ عَيْشُ الْآخِرَةِ. Indeed, true life is the life of the hereafter. Considering just how prone we are to losing focus, revive this prophetic practice in the face of every distraction that presents itself. Thank you for watching this episode. Jazakumullahu khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.